Let's see. I think we on. All right. Well, thank you for joining in on this here broadcast. Whether you live or whether you Memorex, I sure appreciate you. Um, this is. You might hear a little hum in the background. If you hear that, again, I apologize about that, but uh, that's the air conditioner, and I'm too fat to be sitting in here with no air conditioner. So we just gonna have to we'll have to do our best. I'm gonna have to talk a little bit louder. Hopefully you can show a little patience with it. Um, I want to talk about this these shootings, and I want to talk about the the climate that breeds this type of event, this type of these events. You know, I'm gonna say really since the Reagan era, I noticed through my father's observations in the Reagan era a similar type of uh, political racism that you see today. I was too young to really be conscious of that myself, but I remember my father complaining about it at that time, and I remember him explaining it to me later on in life what he went through, like during the Clinton era, where basically I was coming into my adulthood. Um, we were having a conversation about the difference between the Clintons and the previous, uh, the previous presidents. And so, to me, really, I see it all as just business as usual. But when we came out of the civil rights era, people were a little bit more ashamed or cautious with sharing their opinions or their politics if those were racist in nature, and they would be very clandestine with, or more clandestine with the policies that they supported, because they didn't want to be labeled that way. Once Obama became president, the outrage of that for certain Americans who just under no circumstances could see themselves being governed or wish to be governed uh, by a black man as president. They really kind of lost their mind. I was dealing with some folks professionally at that time, which, I mean, they were like really nice people. One of the things that I do is clean carpet, and I was dealing with a lot of my colleagues at that time through the internet, and Bush, George W. was the president when that began, when that relationship began, and then when Obama became the president, uh, some of those folks lost their mind. They really, made a very quick descent into the base of their racist personalities. And I'm not a, I'm not an Obama hater. I'm not an Obama, uh, drum beater. There's a lot of things that that I like and I dislike, you know, in both ways. But uh, I I think that's probably a different conversation. I really need to break that down. I really need to just do a talk strictly on Obama, what he did or didn't do. And to be honest with you, I I don't know if I really want to take the time to gather all of the evidence either way about any of those previous presidents to do, to do a video on them like that. But let's just talk about two things which really weren't Obama uh, ideas or initiatives. He wasn't the person that came up with them. He just supported it, and he wanted to make it happen for all Americans, and that is universal health care and college education. So public supported college education and public supported health care. Now, both of these things, a nation like America can provide for its people. The only reason to not provide it, if you are a Joe Blow American, the only reason that you would not want that is because you don't want some people to benefit from it. There's no other explanation for that. I can understand from a business standpoint if you're a pharmaceutical company and you don't want universal health care because maybe that's going to govern what you can charge for your pharmaceuticals. I can understand if you're uh, a huge, uh, health corporation because you don't want your prices governed and therefore your profits governed. Um, the big hospital, the nationwide hospital chains. I could see where the insurance companies, the health insurance companies, would not want universal health care because then people wouldn't necessarily keep up their insurance plans. All of these things affect the bottom line of someone. The problem is not what the doctors make or what the health professionals make, their salaries and whatnot. Or that's not the issue. It's the profit on the end of the corporation. That is what they are. It's the big wigs. It's the people that make the $10 million a year and or millions of dollars a year as a salary, and they get bonuses and what the big investors will make or not make. That's what's stopping universal health care in this country because so many other countries have it. And people are doing fine. I'll give you an example. One fella that I know in England, he pays the equivalent of $165 a month for him, his wife, and his daughter. He's a truck driver, and he said if I didn't have a job, I wouldn't pay anything, and I would get the same health care. He said in terms of the prescription drugs, he said there's no prescription drug that costs more than $12 equivalent. We have old people here paying hundreds of dollars per pill, and those same old people don't even make hundreds of dollars in a month. You know what I mean? Like they might have only Social Security that they're living off of, or something like that. They might be on a budget of $700 or $1,200 or maybe even $500 a month. And this is the greatest nation in the world. Universal education. What's the problem with providing public supported education? We understand nothing is free. We understand that. But what is the problem with providing college education to every single American child that can demonstrate a C plus or better, you know, an ACT score of 20, an SAT score of, you know, whatever the average minimum was. I never took the SAT. I took the ACT. So I don't know. I think it's 700, 800 or something like that. I don't know what a high, medium, or low score is in SAT. But whatever a medium, you know, to low medium score is, what is the problem with giving these people education? What is the problem with giving children trade education in, or young people, I'm sorry, trade education in high schools? Why is that going away? And not introduction to a trade. There's a lot of that going on. Introduction to the trade. But what about the baseline trade education where when you graduate, you are marketable right then and there? What is the problem with that? Why wouldn't we want our kids to graduate at 17, 18 years old, you know, 19 years old, whatever, however it falls for them, and be able to come out and be eligible for 50, 60, $70,000 a year positions? Why wouldn't we want that? I'm going to tell you why we wouldn't want that. Because we have a mentality or an attitude of, uh, uh, man, what's the word? Scarcity. If I'm doing well, you can't do well. That's our attitude. So we are always trying to stop somebody from doing well. We're trying to govern when people come out, and you know, and how many people can actually be productive and be great, because we need somebody to be the firewood, to be the toilet paper of society. We need consumable people. And we practice this globally all over the world. This is the attitude of the people. But what those folks don't realize is that when you use up all the toilet paper, you're going to grab the napkins. When you use up all the napkins, you're going to grab some newspaper. Back in the day, you know, we didn't have any toilet paper. We didn't have any paper towel or napkins or even newspaper or something like that. Somebody say, "Oh, just bring me that brown paper bag." Some of y'all don't even know what a brown paper bag is. Y'all been on plastic bags at the grocery store so long. But you do what you have to do because you've created a position that has to be filled, a consumable position that has to be filled. What happens when you run out of the toilet paper people? The next in line, the next people closest in line, you become the toilet paper. I don't know if y'all hearing me. I don't know if y'all get it. So this president that we have now and these politicians that we have now playing with the 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 intelligence of the American people, making things about race, making things about who's an immigrant in the nation of immigrants. This is ridiculous, man. This is not the problem. That is not the problem. Let me get real with you. Let me get real with you right quick. I can't even get this real. I can't even get this real, man. I can't even say what it is that I want to say, because I was talking with a good friend of mine yesterday, and we were talking about some of the things that you can go and see when you cross the border into Mexico. I can't even mention the things that we talked about, you know. And I said, man, look, think about that for a minute. You have People that that basically are selling slaves in the United States. Still to this day, women and children. This thing goes on. We know that. You got children prostituting themselves or being prostituted. Women being prostituted and prostituting themselves in order to make ends meet. And men. That goes on. But when you cross that, all of that is illegal. But when you cross that border and go south to that border, you can find that and more. You can find venues where people do the most heinous of things, and animals and all that kind of stuff. And they schedule shows like you go to Vegas or someplace and you go see the magic show. They got that show there, and it has been going on for years. Why is that? Is there something wrong with our brothers and sisters? No. That didn't make a career out of that in order to take care of themselves? No. This is what happens to people when you relegate them to desperation. They do desperate things. People all over the world typically have the same number of limbs, the same number of fingers and toes, mouth, eyes, nose, ears. We look different. We speak different. We worship different. But we're built basically the same. And we have the same needs and we do the same work. When you determine that a person's dollar is not worth, or I say dollar, but their base currency is not worth what your currency is worth, then what you're saying is that they are not worth what you are worth. If they dig a hole and they make 50 times less than you do to dig a hole, and they're burning calories. People say, oh, it's the money. It's the money. Their money's not worth what our money is worth. No. Their calories are not worth. Their BTUs, them as a person, their essence is not worth what you're worth. And that relegates them to desperation. And we refuse to look at the canary in the coal mine, the symptoms of the problem, and to determine whether or not we have caused the problem. Most of the people in this country are of some Abrahamic faith. They're Christian, they're Jew, they're Muslim. Most of the people of some Abrahamic faith. And everybody else that I know of, for the most part, all are part of a faith where doing unto others as you would have done unto you is universal. All of them believe in that. But we keep picking the people who have to be the villains. We keep putting the problems of our society off on people, saying, look what's wrong with you. And this president right now has played into that. He has stoked that fire. He has gone, full in with this, playing with words, playing with people's emotions. And like I said before, playing with the intelligence of the American people. Because the American people, just like people all over the world, they are faithful. They believe in the system and those people who represent the system. And the responsibility of the leader is to lead people in righteousness. First and foremost, in righteousness. When you don't lead people in righteousness, then you send out the wake of wrongdoing. And you get a piece of that. The problem is not the guns. Look at England right now. Look at England has done a fairly good job of getting rid of guns. Look how many knife murders they have. What you gonna do? You gonna make the knives illegal? After the knives, what you gonna make the forks illegal? The spoons illegal? It's the culture of violence that's the problem. And when you dehumanize people, when you marginalize people, they become less than human. When their lives are worth 50 times less than yours. All these things are the symptoms of the problem that we create, we foster, because we have to have folks that are the toilet paper. So you see all these hate crimes. You see people, they're going and they're mowing down the native people of the Americas. Twice in 1 month. California and El Paso. There's one in Ohio. Mowing down people over there and coming from a race-based, position and trying to encourage others to do the same thing. The guy who started 8 Channel message board on the internet, he said, shut it down. He said, because it's a negative for everybody, including the people who are participating. And who are participating? White supremacists. He said, I didn't create it for that. I wanted free speech, but I didn't want hate speech. I didn't want to create the network or networking opportunity for these types of people. I'm saying, our president has blood on his hands, blood on his tongue, blood on his face. Mr. Trump, you have blood all over you because you beat this drum and you embolden these people. And it's not going to stop here. And you can't fix it by taking away people's Second Amendment rights. You can't fix it. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, and your head should be at your feet right now. The best thing that you can do is spend the next or the rest of your term changing the culture. I grew up with guns all around me. I don't remember this type of attitude. I remember a guy that I went to school with. His father had an old truck. And in that truck, he kept a rifle or a shotgun or something. It was a long gun. I don't remember what kind it was. It was very common where I grew up in the South. People would have gun racks in the back of their trucks. And they would have guns that lived in the truck, that never came out the truck. This is just one example. This man had a gun in that truck on that gun rack. In my freshman year and in my sophomore year, every time he would come to his son's game or come to the school or anything, that gun was in the truck, in the parking lot. And then in my sophomore year, he gave the truck to his son to use to coming back and forth to school. And the gun never came out of the truck. When we graduated, the gun was in the truck. The gun would sit in there all day long in the parking lot. Nobody broke a window to take it. Nothing bad happened with it. Nobody brought it into school and killed nobody. None of that. Guns have always been around. That's not the problem. It's how you treat the people, how you teach people to treat other people. And you can't expect them to rise above their programming. You program them to be that way. So now we must all take responsibility to reprogram ourselves. Understand that the programming that's coming to us is not good. Respect life. Respect people. Want for each other what we want for ourselves. Realize we come from one and we return to one. Love you for free. Every time. Itinerally, I'm out. Once again, back is the incredible. All right. I'm doing back to back here because I need to get this off too. Separate subject from the first one that I did. Second, I don't want to give a plug to anybody, but this is some good coffee. I'm just saying. Y'all don't know nothing about that. Y'all don't know nothing about that. Once again, I apologize if you hear the humming in the background. That's my air conditioner. And like I said in the previous video, I'm too fat to be sitting around in the heat. So y'all be patient with me. If this sounds like garbage, I'm going to take it down. And I hope I don't have to take it down. Anyway, this video is about universal basic income. Now, there's a fella, I should have shored up on his name, man, but he's an Asian guy, and he's running for president. He's trying to be the 9th person on the Democratic debates. He's trying to get all that lined up, and he feels confident that he will get that in this week. He will meet all the requirements and be able to get into those debates. And he is talking about universal basic income. He ain't the only one talking about universal basic income. There's a lot of big wigs that are talking about it. And I'm probably only going to be on here 5 minutes. I'm not going to go super deep on this because I want to come back with some evidence. So I'm going to do this in 2 parts. But I'd like to get some feedback from y'all if I can before I do the next video about what you think about universal basic income. I think universal basic income is slavery. That's what I think. I am not a communist, a socialist, or a capitalist. I am none of those things. I refuse to be put into those boxes. All of those terms in human history are new terms. So all of us understand that some people need to be taken care of. And all of us should understand that the people who don't need to be taken care of, they need to work, and they need to work hard, or they need to work smart and hard, or they need to work smart, but they need to make some money. And they need to contribute to all of the things that the society needs together. Now, the reason why they are saying that universal basic income is going to become necessary is because of technology. As things become more automated, there will be less jobs. So if there are going to be less jobs, then we need some way for people to take care of themselves. Now let's follow this out a minute, okay? If you pay people, if you give people a certain amount of money to take care of themselves without them doing anything, you think they're going to stop having sex? Do you think they're going to stop making babies? No. They will continue to do those things because guess what? They ain't got nothing else to do. You know? Now, another part about it, if you give people free money, do you think the price of the items at the store are going to stay the same? No. They're going to go up. The cost of things are going to go up. The buying power of the money that you give is going to go down. People ain't going to stop having sex. So the population is going to continue to increase. And at some point, they're going to say, you know what? And by the way, they've already said this and they're already doing it. But at some point, they're going to say, we need to get rid of some of these people. We're paying for too many people. We need to have birth control. We need to tell you how many kids you can have. Your wife gets pregnant or you get pregnant, and they tell you, oh, you got to have an abortion. You can't go to term. Or we're going to cut you off, or we're going to fine you. And you have people that are so afraid of that, that when they find out that their child or somebody had a baby in their household that they didn't even know that the person was pregnant, they're going to kill that baby. We're talking about millions of people here. And when you have millions of people, you got to think about what will happen in the worst case scenario. This is leadership. This is what you are required to do in leadership. And these people understand that, believe me, they're smarter than me. They are educated. They have all of the tools that they need, but they don't mention to you these types of things because they want to take you down that road of believing everything is going to be gravy. Let me tell you something. We don't need all that automation. All we need to do is agree as a country that we are not going to give up jobs. Let's take the trucking jobs as an example. And I'm going to be real quick. Just over the road truckers is 3.5 million over the road truckers. They make an average of $800 a week. That's $2.8 billion a week in payroll. That's not the office workers that are necessary for that truck driver to make their money. That's not the dock workers. That's nowhere close to all the money that needs to move around in that particular instance for the 2.8 billion to happen. Now, if we lose $2.8 billion a week in earned income, earned salaries, imagine how that would devastate the economy. Imagine how that would affect, you're talking about 1% of the population. But that 1% of the population that's the total population. That's the retired people. That's the children. You know what I'm saying? That's when you talk about 3.5 million jobs, that's a large percentage or a larger percentage than 1% of the jobs. And not only that, those are professional jobs. So we should reject automation. You don't think they will have automated bus runs? They already have that. Really, we think about subways. What is that other than an automated bus run or automated transportation? You take the drivers out of it. You keep taking people out of the equation. And for what? The people are a constant. Why are you taking the constant out of the equation? We need to create jobs. And we need to create respect for the people who do the jobs. We need to appreciate people so that we can require them to conduct themselves in a professional manner. I'm going to come back on this. I do have more on it. Even the loose stuff, I do have more on it, but I don't want to go too long on this particular video. Please, if you watch the video, please give me some feedback. So when I come back, I can talk more about it. If you've done a video on it, you can throw it in my comments, and I will watch it. Uh, let's have the conversation. Love y'all for free, and I'm out.